Hello, and welcome to episode number 116. Today, we are talking about career prep for AI and ML. I have with me two young guests who are currently doing their course in artificial intelligence and machine learning at Manipal. And they'll be speaking to us about what it means to do the course, how is it to be inside the middle of the storm that is being created by AI and ML, and what happens when you're part of a course that is a happening kind of thing, and what are their career options and what are they looking at. So let's bring them on board and talk to them and figure out where exactly they think artificial intelligence, machine learning, and their own careers are headed. Hi, Shaan. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
glad to be here.
Good to have you on the show. Uh, yeah. Hi, Ananya. Welcome to the show.
Hello, good to be here. Looking forward to talking to you.
Okay. Great. So let's dive right into what you are currently doing, which is you're going to class, you're listening to classes about artificial intelligence and machine learning every day. So what exactly happens in the class? One of you can take over, and Ananya, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I think it sounds very fancy when you say AI and ML. But if we talk about our class, we go and we basically are learning about the basics right now. So for math, we'll be doing our basic probability and optimization and things like that. For AI, it's sounding very fancy, I know, but we mostly dive into algorithms. Like we have different kind of algorithms, and we're also seeing about the history of AI. So I think that on the basics right now, slowly you deep dive into machine learning, deep learning as you go along the semesters. That's how it happens. So basically, like we have a number of subjects. We're seeing about operating systems. All basically it's all coding and algorithms if you really think about it. And so DSA is also very important for AIML. So it's just specialization in AIML. So you dive deeper into it slowly as you go by, but it's pretty similar to core and everything related to that.
Okay, great. Shan, what has your experience been?
Yeah, I think similar things only. Like we need a good grasp of data structures to know everything, and we can then implement it in the AI. So we learn like similar things only, but in different languages. We had a like course of object-oriented programming, which we did in Java last semester, and this
Okay.
semester we're learning data structures in Python and some algorithms in C language. So it's basically just the basics right now. We'll dive deeper in the upcoming semesters, I think.
Okay, great. So, Ananya, give me something that you have, something that's been unusual, or when you got into it, what is the first thing about AI that kind of, in the last few months that you've been on the course, what is it that has made an impact on you?
That's a good one. I'll take a minute to answer that. So basically, I think when I was like choosing my branch as it is, like you get a few options. So most people will probably go with core because that's like a safe option. It has been there for a very long time. And AIML is actually a new branch in Manipal itself. So people were a little like they weren't sure about it. They weren't sure about how it'll work out. And they were a little dicey to choose it because obviously they don't know about the jobs that are there for
Prospect,
it.
yeah.
So I remember in first year, it was like I had chosen core. I had chosen AIML, but I was getting core as well. And you needed like a higher rank to get core according to the system they had. So when I
Okay.
chose, when I was like choosing core, like I was choosing AIML, everyone was like, why aren't you going for the safer option? Because obviously it's like you're getting it easily. Why take the risk? But honestly, I thought that we have to take a little bit of risk in life to like
Right.
see more
Right.
opportunities. And then I
Right.
think AIML is a thing that's kind of on the safer side of taking risks because it's a big sector now. It's growing.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a greater opportunity if we think about it like in the long run, it will give you way more opportunities.
True. That's a very sensible way of looking at it. So, Shan, what is your process of deciding like? What did you have to go through?
Yeah, so I was one of the people who was more inclined towards computer science core, but
Okay.
I wasn't able to get it because my rank was a bit lower. So I was
Okay.
allotted IT, information technology at first. But because of my first year CGPA, I was able to upgrade my branch to AIML. But in that also, my first preference was computer science core only. But now I think I'm actually happier that I wasn't able to get it because we're basically learning the same
Yeah.
subject as
Yeah.
computer science core, just like more AI involved. And
Right.
like AI has a lot of potential, I think, more than computer science core because it's almost implemented in every industry like healthcare, finance, media.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and that is actually the strange bit that AI right now is written about in media, and people say that I'm using AI. Every single company website seems to say I'm using AI. But when you ask them, what are you actually doing with it? There is either some quick turnaround or workaround, or they'll tell you, yeah, we are getting a whole lot of data from which we are deriving intelligence, and then we are implementing it in the in our program or our software and things like that. But how are you making the connection, Ananya? Have you seen something which is very specifically useful from what you have seen so far? What has struck you about where can I use AI?
All right. So I remember that I was in a club for computer science, and when you're in a club, you interact with a lot of seniors. So I remember I knew this senior who was working on an AI project, and like if you're working on various projects, you keep looking for internships and everything. And I remember
Right.
that person wasn't even in a computer science branch. He was working on this software where you like if you're working out, you don't have to count your reps yourself. You just have to put a camera there and it'll count the reps for you. So
Okay.
there are small things like small utilities like how you can use it. Like if you think about it, it's you can count your reps yourself, but it just makes it more convenient. You can like be in your own world and the machine will obviously count the reps for you. And I remember another example for it is like for predicting like data models. Basically, ML is like you take a lot of information and you make like prediction models using it. So for weather forecast or any other thing, you basically use it in every. You can use it in all kind of industries. I feel like there's not one industry you cannot accommodate AI into. Like for example, finance is there, banking is there. If you're thinking about investing, for example, you can have AI models who can tell you where to invest as well. So I feel like it's
Right.
a vast thing to use. It
Yeah,
has
there's a
various
lot of
possibilities.
applications which will happen. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, Shan, where have you seen the applications coming in? What has your experience been?
There's many places. I think one of the most common is like e-commerce. The suggested items which you get are like with what AI collects data from your previous searches and like gives you the best possible results. And I think in like online streaming services also, like you get recommendations based on what your search history is. And like so it's basically when like a machine learns and adapts from previous data which it gets. So yeah, it can be used. It's almost being used in every industry, I think.
So, tell me if you're watching Netflix or you're watching Apple or any one of these things, do the recommendations play a role in what you watch next, or do you come in front of, you settle down in front of the TV and then say, okay, I'm going to watch this? Or is it something that you scroll and then you decide?
No, I think the recommendations play a big role because it saves
Okay.
time, and obviously you'll be more interested in things which you have watched earlier because obviously you're
Okay.
inclined towards that. So I think it'll play a major role, like, and with time it'll only get better. I think more accurate
Okay.
results. I think.
Okay. So let me put you both into a bit of a bind, which is that Do you think that you need your previous information to tell you what you're interested in? For example, how will you discover something new if the AI keeps telling you that you like crime or you like horror and consistently puts up movies which are your interest and focuses you on this that genre? Is that good or bad, Ananya?
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because that's the reason that AI cannot replace humans. There's this constant debate all over the internet that AI will take over, it'll take over the
Yeah.
jobs. But if you really think about it, that's the thing. AI has its limitations. And if I actually need a new movie that I want to watch that's out of my comfort zone, I need a friend to recommend it. And AI at the end of the day cannot do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like
So those are the
that's one
things.
of the
Yeah.
limitations.
And even in e-commerce, I think it gives you a sense of what you've purchased. I think just to take Shaan
Yeah,
on
once
what
you Google
he
it.
has, yeah, you have bought, let's say you bought 20 books, in which case the AI can decide that you like these kind of books and then recommend something. But if your purchase pattern has been very different, for example, you buy uh, proteins once, then you buy something for the house, which is nail clippers, or you buy something else, there is no connecting pattern. So I'm saying there is a point when the number of things have to integrate for you to figure out what is it that you want to buy.
Right, right. Obviously, that's one of the limitations, I think. But I think like if you're constantly searching for something, for example, if I want to buy a watch and I'm searching for watches, I'm spending like 10-15 minutes scrolling. So the next time when I log in into Amazon, let's say, I'll have more searches and suggestions based on what I was looking for. So I
Okay.
think that makes it more convenient in some sort of way. But yeah, if I'm constantly searching for different items, it obviously makes it difficult to analyze my pattern, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you another set of things which, um, before the internet came, obviously everything you had to go to the shop and get stuff, and you had to plan for everything, including your journeys. You had to go to a place for booking a ticket. Now you can just sit at one table and get everything done. I want to ask both of you, where do you think things are really different from your parents' time and your time right now? Because you're getting a whole lot of data which is currently there. Your behavioral patterns in terms of how you shop, how you decide on brands is different from the way your parents decide. I belong to that generation. So I'm saying, what is it that you notice and you feel that why is it that they seem to take so much of time over it? Why is it? What are the things that you notice older people do differently?
Okay, so I feel like we have it much easier because we have so many applications and so many resources that obviously our parents did not have. And I feel like they're also learning now because I see like my mom also learning new websites she's going to every day. She started looking around herself. Like she's ordering more than me these days on online apps and everything. So it's like they're also quick learners. So it's like I think they had it. They didn't have it before, but they've adapted to it quite well recently. And I feel like we have it much easier because even if we're doing assignments or we're giving tests or we're preparing for tests or everything, we have sites for everything. We can everything is just one click away basically. So I feel like sometimes our friends we talk about how hard it must be if we didn't have the internet or we didn't have chat GPT to like take us through everything. I feel like we're very dependent on it as well, but it makes
Okay.
things much easier, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. Shan, what has your experience been?
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. We have it very much easier, as she said. Like if you want groceries, you have Blinkit, Zepto, just one click away. And like as far as AI goes, I think earlier like people used to use books, and we now have like various like search assistants which can we can personalize based on how our understanding is. Like if I didn't understand it in the first time, I can just ask it to like simplify, explain it in simpler words, I think. So it's easier over there. Yeah.
Okay. So there is this whole thing that anything physical that you do, that you go into, in terms of your daily routine or things that you do on a regular basis where you're doing work without really having to think about it, which is like cutting vegetables, cutting fruits, going to the shop. Do you enjoy going to the shop, or do you think that that's a chore? It's something that I don't want to do.
Yeah, I think we mostly prefer using Blinkit. I'm not even gonna lie. Like getting everything at your doorstep is too convenient, and you can't really go back from it. And like it saves time. As we're students, we already are very much low on time management with having so many assignments. So going far off, sometimes it's kind of hard, and it's kind of like we avoid it. So it's much more convenient. That's why I think Blinkit just started in Manipal, and I think the reason is us only. It's the students who kind of
Yeah, I was
are the
really
biggest
surprised
market.
because I think, yeah, I went to VIT, which is near Chennai, and I found that they had 800 or 900 deliveries a day just from Amazon. And then, so you're saying, okay, there are 30,000 people, but there are so many products being bought every day. But I'm saying, at some point, are you losing out on the physical aspects of really seeing a store, because you're looking at it through an app, through one little thing, and then deciding? So is that the way to go about things? I know we're going very far away from AI and ML, but I want to understand how you guys are seeing the world and how you want to, what you believe your place will be.
Right. So I think like for general items, it's more convenient to just order it from Blinkit or something because you already know what you're gonna get. But as far as like I think most people don't prefer to order technological items from online stores. So it's because it can be defected and like it can have many other issues. So it's obviously better to go to a store and for some items, I think. But for general purpose items, like you can easily get it from Blinkit.
But would you prefer to get something, your clothes, for example, would you prefer to go to the store and get it?
Right. So clothes are another example of something which you want to try on and figure out for yourself. So I think it's better to go to a store.
Okay. Fine. So, Ananya, one other thing which I'm thinking about is that if convenience becomes all important and you're trying to save time, what are you doing with the additional time that you save?
I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. If you have more time, I feel like these days you have so much work. It's like college assignments apart, you have to build on your skills to actually get a job. You have to solve so many problems. You have to look into so many courses. There are number of courses that people keep recommending, and you have to figure out for yourself what's best and what will actually get you into your dream job or your dream university for like
Right.
postgrad or anything. So I think like if you have extra time, it surely helps. But then, as he said, some things can't be compromised. Sometimes you have to go to the store. Like
Right.
that's unavoidable at times. You can't really help it. But I feel like it just makes it easier to have an option. If you have an option, obviously it's more convenient. Like you can choose for yourself when you don't have time. At least you have an option to order it.
Okay. Okay. Because what I notice is that it's almost as if you want to spend time outside and do physically only on the things that you really want to. For example, going to the gym or going in for a film. You might go want to go and watch a film in the theater, some of them, because you want the big screen experience, as opposed to, or going with friends, which is different from just watching it at home, in spite of the same. So, Shaan, give me an idea of what your thoughts are on how you want to look at a job in AI and ML, let's say a couple of years down the line.
I'm not really sure about it right now, but I want to get into something which implements AI instead of just AI itself, if you understand. Like, for example, AI is being used in like finance sectors, like she said, like to predict stock market So basically something which implements it. I would like to, go down that field. Yeah.
Okay. So you think something that AI will help you. I'm trying to understand where exactly the implementation goes, because it's either in presenting you with a choice or doing something uh, which makes life easier for you. I'll give you an example where I am using AI on the podcast, because one of the problems I had is taking this 1 hour and then splitting it into shorter edits, because that involved a lot of time and effort going through every single thing. So now I just use software that breaks it up into, gives me all the highlights, gives me 20, 30 edits from the entire episode, which younger people are watching much more than they would, because for them a 30-second or a 45-second short is much easier to watch than 60 minutes. So that is one example of the implementation. Can you think of an implementation, Ananya, which you think will, that you would like to do or you think has potential?
Yeah, so I think like AI basically will use for some monotonous jobs, like the jobs that humans don't want to do anymore, right? That's where it's useful. For example, nowadays you even have apps which can recommend you like outfits. So you give it an idea where you want to go, and it'll actually give you outfit ideas, or it'll like you can use it in any sector of life. Like you can. For example, you just woke up on a Sunday morning, you don't know where you want to go. For example, you need places to go, that you can Google, obviously. And then you
Right.
like there's a dress code, you put the dress code on, it will give you some options with whatever you have. So like it's the small things which you can use. Obviously it will give you multiple options, and then you can choose from that. So it's just that it just makes life easier, like the small things. Like it's basically used for the things that we as humans don't want to do anymore. Like honestly speaking, I think our generation and like after your generation, like we've become very lazy. We want to make use of all resources, and we just don't want to do any monotonous job anymore. So I think it plays a major role there.
Okay. I think those are very valid points, and those are the things that I want to concentrate on. Let's just take a, yeah. So you're listening to My First Job podcast. I'm speaking to Ananya Sharma and Shaan Chandok, both of whom are studying for the course in AI and ML at Manipal. And they have just spent 2 years, they've got 2 more years to go, but this is prep for the world ahead. And it's interesting to see how their thoughts and their views on how their lives around AI and the world of the internet has changed so substantially, because they're really Gen Z and really as far as they're concerned, they're the frontline generation for how life will be in future in the next 20 years, because they're going to define it. So it's interesting to see where they see the next changes happening, and then how they are going to contribute to it and be a part of it. So, Ananya, give me a sense of where you think this is headed. Because if life becomes something about doing only things that you like and removes all the drudgery, then do you think that anything which is even a little less interesting will become a problem? For example, I just want to sit in front of the
Yeah.
TV and show me a film. Do you think that is actually going to make you less innovative, less interested in things? Where do you think this is
Yeah,
going?
I'm Yeah, I mean, I think this can't be a permanent thing to be happening, honestly. Because if we keep choosing what we have to do and what we don't have to do, slowly we're gonna keep eliminating tasks which we find even slightly boring. For example, nowadays we see like our attention span is already decreased to a different level
Yeah.
because of all the reels and everything that's going around. So slowly, I think it's actually reducing the human potential. So the more we use AI, the more we're like stopping our own brains from working. We're not using our potential as much, and we're not being as creative as we can be. So I feel like that's a probably a negative point and a negative aspect of it, which shouldn't be happening. I think we should go out more and make less use of AI. Like the other day, I remember we were doing something, and like for the most basic thing, like to even to like talk to someone, we'll be like, "Can you give me an idea?" Like ChatGPT, what should I ask this person if I want to know about this? So it's like such a basic thing. That's something that you have to think on your own. But we're going to ChatGPT to ask it about this also. So I feel
Yeah.
like it's obviously a negative thing. We should obviously be humanly. We're ourselves turning into machines. I feel like.
Wonderful thought, Ananya. Hold that. I'll come back to you. We'll go more deeper into that. So, Shan, tell me, what is it that you feel if life becomes so easy, then is it going to work in your favor or is it going to work against you?
No, it'll obviously work against us because slowly we'll be like inclined towards only our comfort zone. Like obviously we have to get out of our comfort zone. We'll, like she said, we'll eliminate tasks. Like eventually everything will start to seem boring to us. So I think we need to have some sort of uncomfort, like to get us out. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do when you're out? What are the things that you want to go out for? You know,
Like
people say, I want to hang out with friends. What do you do when you hang out?
yeah. So like when you hang out, like goes to a like I don't know, probably have a meal with them, just have a walk. Yeah, maybe like have some fun activities like go bowling or play something. Yeah.
Right, right. So, do you end up having conversations or are you guys on your phones even while you're together?
Yeah, so that's a good point actually because earlier people used to like hang out without their phones, but now it's like when my friends come to my room, it's like half an hour we'll talk at max, then all of us will be on our phones and we will like sharing reels to each other and while we're in the same room, so it's a bit funny. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what I find a little strange as to why is it that conversations have become so difficult? I mean, parents, of course, because it's almost as if you don't have common topics of conversation. If you have five friends, the five friends are seeing five different sets of reels based on their likes that the algorithm checks. So, how do you find common ground? Ananya, do you have
Yeah,
a
yeah, I feel like you're totally right about conversations being difficult because I think the major part of it is that first, like olden times, if you needed to know something, you had to talk to people to find out that information. These days, you just open your phone, anything you want to ask, any life advice. Now, Google will give you life advice also. Like it has no life experiences, but you'll get free life advice from there. So I feel like that's another thing. Like so I think people used to talk to their parents more because like if you wanted to know anything, you would go to them because their experience. Nowadays, it's you're going to Chat GPT for advice. You're going to Google for advice. So it's like that, and even with friends, it's like you're hanging out together, but half the time you're thinking about social media. You're like I remember like sometimes when you go out with your friends, it's less of talking and more of taking pictures because they have to put up a post. It's like half the time they're trying to find a good place to take a picture instead of actually interacting with each other. So that's obviously how things have been working now, which is kind of sad because we're humans. We're meant to interact. We're meant to talk to each other. We shouldn't be close to a small box the entire time.
Yeah, that's actually the part which I find the most that AI is going to make is going to the first thing was it'll take away all the repetitive tasks, but then your repetitive tasks are also going out with friends every day, watching a film, eating every
Hmm.
day. So when it takes away the fun from that, what is it that is what has your experience been, Shan, when you get together with relatives, with friends? How do you find points of conversation? How does it come, or do you sometimes feel, oh, this is time just doesn't move?
Yeah, obviously it's become a bit harder in these times because we're mostly on our phones. So, and like even after spending 10-15 minutes with them, you get a notification, you open your phone, and 10 minutes pass by and you're still on your phone. So that's concerning, I think. We should like keep our phones away when we're interacting with someone. But yeah, obviously it has become difficult. And I think in some cases, it's like some conversations are also about social media when we actually talk about it. So yeah,
So, when was the last time you kept your phone down and just talked to a friend for about an hour? Can you recall the time?
for about an hour. I don't think that's very recent.
No, which is strange because it's almost as if the human connection comes from a conversation. And if the phone is going to be the intermediary and it's there all the time, then why is it that you are surrendering that ability to talk to someone and establish a connection to a device which is in between? I'm just trying to understand because it's easier, because relationships can be tough. When you're talking to someone, there are times at which you don't have anything to say and conversation can flag, at which point the phone comes up and then it goes back into the loop. What about you, Ananya? When was the last time you remember that you had a conversation with someone which just went on and you were saying, I'm fine, or you never thought about the phone at all?
I feel like it sometimes happens when I go back with my family, when I'm with my family, because we've been apart for so long. Sometimes it happens, but I feel like that constantly being away from the phone, that's pretty hard to happen because I think we've normalized it so much. Because even if you're at home, if you would, sometimes I'm not even joking, I would be talking to my dadu, and even he will pick up his phone because even he is a little addicted to it at this point. So I think we've normalized it too much. So I
Yeah.
think
That,
it's our fault. We need to mend it a little because it's become too normal. Like that
yeah.
phone is like part of our body at this point. It's an organ. We are roaming around with it everywhere. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
something we need to work on.
So this is another thing which I'm sure, as far as you're concerned, you'll wonder: have you ever fought for the window seat in a car or a train, or let's say you're traveling with siblings and you want the window seat? It's never mattered to you.
Yeah, earlier it used to matter to me. So yeah, I have fought over that.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I find people are not very, uh, you know, uh, it doesn't matter because the phone is always there. So what happens when you go into a hill station or you go for a holiday and the phone, there is no signal? You just can't get anything. What do you end up doing? Do
Yeah,
you
so
finally
that's
take
when, yeah,
pictures?
yeah, so I think that's when you don't have any option to use your phone. So you actually go out and explore, and you actually see that it's more fun to not have your phone with you for some time. So I think that needs to happen more often in our lives where we don't get a network or something.
Okay, okay. Anyway, so now let's get back to the thing that we're talking about. Now, in AI and ML, what are the things that you feel you would like to personally go deeper into in the next couple of years?
I feel like there are a number of options that you can deep dive into as it's still a new concept, a new thing to have happened. I feel like there are a lot of research opportunities as well. So I feel like I would like to explore one of those opportunities because there's still a lot that can be discovered in this field. For example, like under AI and ML, if you go deeper into it, there's deep learning and there's a lot of sub branches to it. So I feel like if you really get into it, you can end up finding way more possibilities and way more things that you can do with it. It's still a new concept, and I think many new sub branches will be there from it. So I feel like even our college is very much into research, and students get into research every single year. I feel like that's something that I'd like to get into.
Okay. What about your teachers? Are you taught by someone who has been into AI and ML, or they came from a computer science background? And what are classrooms like? Is it more theory? Is it more practical? What happens?
Uh,
Shan?
yeah, yeah. So we have a mix of both practicals and theory. So, for example, if we have AI class, which is for theory, we'll have a lab which is separate, which is for just the practicals and stuff, where we actually code and implement the programs. So I think we have both, and we have some subjects for computer hardware also, like operating systems. We had digital systems, computer organizations. So I think it's all there, and we have a mix of both. So yeah.
Okay. And what have you enjoyed the most in the classes? What are the classes which you have liked?
Me personally, I really enjoyed the data structures class and lab, which we had last sem, because it had like we were like exploring all the basics and all, but we were also diving deep into it, like complex problems and all. So
So
yeah.
give me an example of what kind of data structures you were looking at.
Uh, we were just looking at basics like trees, stacks, and all, but and graphs. And now in AI, we're looking at graph traversals, which are like the basics of how AI is implemented. So it's basically a continuation of what we were learning last semester only.
So is there any scenario that you're given from which you have to derive solutions? Or is it that you're taught the theory? Are there any hackathons? Are there anything that you have to do to say how will you approach this?
Yeah, we have like hackathons. We have many hackathons, and even in our like practicals exams, we have like a mid-sem exam and an end semester exam. And they just give us a problem which we have to find a solution on our own based on what we've learned in both theory and lab. So
So give me an
yeah, we
example
have
of
to
any. Do you
implement.
remember any assignment where they give you what were the assignments that you had to do, or any particular thing that comes to mind?
Yeah, so for example, we have our upcoming AI project, which we
Huh.
will have to submit, I think, in 2 weeks. So basically, they've given us the opportunity to like explore any topic which we like and implement AI, which we've learned in our classes into it, and like implement a program and, if possible, publish a research paper also.
Okay. Okay, let me give you a few examples of scenarios and let me see what you have in mind. So, Ananya, let's say you're designing smart ordering for a pizza app. How would you train the model to suggest the best pizza to someone who's ordering? What are the things that you would consider?
Okay, so firstly, I feel like we'll have to see if they're veg or non-veg.
Okay.
That'll give us some categories. Then, obviously, if we're making an app, we'll have to have certain options. For example, what kind of I mean, I'm not getting your point exactly. Do we give them like a ordering app or something? I mean,
You
I
tell
have
me
to make
how
them
you
order
would
it.
approach it. Let's say the pizza delivery is, let's say, okay, any let's say it can be a mom and pop shop which is coming in and then saying we want
All right,
somebody to sort of figure out, if
all
you
right,
give me
all
your
right,
age
all
I
right,
will tell you, and veg, you have two or three options:
all
age,
right, all
veg,
right.
non-veg,
Based on that.
locality, and then based on that come up with the app.
All right. So, for example, yeah, we can take the age of the person. We can take if they're veg or non-veg, and I feel like there's a very creative idea that we can implement is that we can put in the calories on the pizzas, like how many calories are there. We can make something gluten-free. If allergies are there, we can give them
Right,
gluten-free options. We can give them options with like less cholesterol or something if that's an old
right,
person, because
right,
they want to be careful. We can give them
right,
sugar-free options in desserts and everything. So I think
right.
that those categories can be there,
Okay.
depending on the age group of the person or like the preference of the people. I think there are multiple possibilities in that case.
Okay, so those are the things that you would focus on. Great. Okay,
Yeah.
you're listening to the My First Job podcast. I'm speaking to Ananya Sharma and Shaan Chandok. We're talking about how AI, the course itself, is evolving. And in the concluding segment of the show, we'll be talking to them about scenarios in AI and how they would approach it, plus how they see their future and what are the things that they're going to do once they complete, what are the things that they're interested in pursuing once they are through with the course, and where they see themselves going once they finish the course. Okay, so Shaan, let me give you another scenario. That is, there's a DJ. Okay, Spotify wants to launch a feature that automatically creates a playlist based on a user's mood. So let's say you say, I have a mood, I have a particular mood, and give me a set of songs. I don't have to go and select the songs. What would you do? How would you go about it?
I think the age of the person might be a contributing factor to that because and age I'll consider and maybe like gender also I think plays a major role. Uh,
And would it be their past listening history? For example, if you didn't have their past history, how would you be, where would you anchor it?
I think by suggesting them the most popular songs of different genres and seeing what they choose and then suggesting similar songs from the same genre, I think we can have a more
Okay,
personalized playlist with that.
okay. Interesting. So, Ananya, let me give you another problem altogether, which is your friend sends you a video, a hilarious video of a politician dancing like a Bollywood star. Now, it's not obviously fake, but how would you figure out, how would you use AI to figure out whether it's real or fake?
I feel like as with the development of such apps which create such fake videos, there are already apps which tell you which videos are fake or which essays plagiarized. So like I feel like there are multiple options already available online. So I think I'll go mostly to one of those and figure it out from that because it's sometimes it's very accurate. It's hard to tell on your own. So I
Yeah.
feel like you'll have
Uh,
to use one of those sites.
yeah. That's actually one of the problems that, which has come up where you don't know what is real and what is false anymore, which can
Yeah, there are a
be,
lot of scams.
yeah. Now, okay, another daily life thing that let's say you've lost your phone. You wake up and you realize you've misplaced your phone and it's on silent. What would you do to go about finding it? Is there
I feel
something
like
that you would do?
location, yeah, I feel
Location.
like
But how will
location
you, where will
tracing
you
can
look for
be.
its location on your desktop, laptop? What did you do?
I feel like for iPhones mostly you have something like Find My Device. That's the thing that they use. I feel like that's there. So if you have any other device that has your Apple ID, I think you can just tap it on that and it'll give you the exact location of the other device. So it's pretty advanced like that. So I feel like that mostly helps. Like that's something that can be
Okay,
done.
great. So, Shan, what would um, give me an idea of an AI app that you would like to build? What is it that you would like to do if you're given the opportunity? And then said, okay, you work on anything that you like doing. Where would you begin?
um, I think I'm interested in like lifestyle apps, for example, which suggests you what you can like eat, do, maintain your fitness based on your body type and your body weight and how your body reacts to exercises and all. So I think we can have a personalized app which determines all of that by taking into account like several characteristics of a person. So I think I would be interested in doing that and like track everything which a person eats, does in a day, and like suggesting what optimal things he or she can do.
Okay, now there's this thing that you don't even have to code. You can just prompt an AI and it'll come.
Right.
So, what would you do? What are the things that, give me an example of a prompt you would use, or what would you tell the AI to work for?
For this app, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, what are the things that you would focus on in order to develop the app? Now, if you just say, okay, give me a lifestyle app, it would ask for more instructions.
Yeah, right.
So, what are the things that you think would be important to tell the AI in order to help build the app?
I think it would take a bit of time, even if I work with AI to build the app, because I need to give in all the details and how I want the app to look and work. So I think it's not that simple, even if you're building it with AI. because it's not always correct, the code which it gives. So you need to have some prior knowledge of yourself to build it.
So true. That's exactly the point that I think I was also. Ananya, what would you do if you had to work on your dream AI app?
That's an interesting question. I think I haven't thought much about it. But I remember I was like a few years back, I was trying to learn guitar online. Like I used to go for
Huh.
physical classes as well, but that didn't work out for me that much. So I feel like there are apps that can teach you instruments as well. So I think that's a very interesting concept. Like there are various apps that exist still, but I feel like those are not that great. So I think that like something can be done in that sector. Like for example, if you have to learn a new skill, so like apps that can teach you, that can observe you and tell you what you're doing wrong. I feel like that's an interesting concept that hasn't been explored properly yet. So maybe something on that lines.
Okay, so let me give you another scenario. Shan, imagine that chatbot is giving weird answers and is not answering the question that it has been asked. Where would you start the debugging?
Mm. Like, which type of answer are you talking about? Like general answers or like a code
So
which I
let's
gave
say
it?
this is a chatbot which is a support chatbot,
Right,
which is a to-do list app onto which people are asking, what should I do when I run into this problem? And it starts giving answers which are completely, you know, that the answer is not right.
right.
So where would you start?
I think going to the initial, I think maybe it's a problem there because it shouldn't give like obviously incorrect answers because that means that it has something wrong in the basics. So I think maybe at the initial state I'd check and maybe go deeper into that.
So you'd go back to the basics and figure out where the problem is in the
Right.
first place.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that where you're saying things like what you're already learning is going to be absolutely important? Because without knowing that, there is no way that you can simply act at the surface level and solve a problem.
Right, yeah. Obviously, we need to have a good grip of the basics in order to go deeper into that because the basics are what we need in like the more advanced topics. So they're just an extension of this, I think. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, um, this sort of thing has been happening, which is it took a long time for AI to figure out what is a cat and what is a dog, in spite of being told. So let's say, and I've even heard of these things where things are being purposely poisoned. That is, the learning curve is being disrupted by people who write code and tell, misguide or, lead the AI astray. So how would you figure out, let's say, instead of when the user is asking for a cat, if it starts showing dog or elephant pictures, how do you begin to figure out how would you get back to what the main uh, the true answers are, which is again an answer question answer problem.
All right. So I
Have I
think
made myself
that's
clear?
exactly. I think so. I'll ask you if there's any confusion. I feel like, for example, that's what he said. Like you have to have a good knowledge of whatever you're doing in order to actually figure out what's wrong in a code. Because from all these AI chatbots and everything, you can get the code, but most of the time you can't be sure if that's correct. Like sometimes you'll end up giving up the code to them, and they'll be like, "Your code has this issue," and it will be their own code that you prompted again. So I feel like you have to have a good knowledge of what you're doing. Like the basics have to be absolutely clear to actually figure out what's wrong in any code and any errors that you have to remove. For that, it's important to like go through the books that we keep avoiding, go through everything that we keep avoiding. I think that's absolutely necessary if you actually want to build something that will work perfectly and that will actually give you real solutions.
Okay. So give me some examples of what's happening in class right now. What are the things that go on in class that you found interesting? Let's say somebody came up with an idea, a person came up with a project that you thought was pretty interesting. because it's really in the interactions in class that you come across stuff that you find is, you know, um, thought provoking, or is there something that's happened, or is it largely been, yeah, it's what I have to learn, what I have to study, and nothing really that way has happened so far. Either of you. Shan, would you like to go?
Yeah, so I think right now it's been just like theory and lab, but because we're like heading towards the end of the sem, we have our project submissions. So I think now the upcoming 2 weeks will be more interesting because we'll be able to see what the other students are doing for their projects. So like similar to this, we had like a few project submissions last semester also, and like because the topic was like very basic and anyone could be able to do it, but to see how people went into the advanced stuff for that was pretty good.
So, do you have an example of somebody who did an unusual thing? Do you remember something?
Yeah, I think we had to make like a Java FX application to like control just the basic lighting of rooms and stuff. So mostly people did that, but one of the groups they had like full animations for when the light goes up. When you increase the speed of the fan, it actually rotates faster. So it was interesting to see how others think and went the like extra mile to do that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Ananya, what did you come across?
I think right now we're pretty much into the basics. So I feel like if someone is genuinely very interested, they go out of their comfort zone and do it. For example, I have this friend who is in a student project as well. So I remember she made this app, which was basically a AI ML based app. So it was pretty basic. I can give you the example because I that's what I came across. So it was basically just a camera, and it was taking your hand image, and it was like a rock paper scissor game, and you had to put your hand, like two players had to put their hands, and it could tell like if who's won or who's losing, if like player one is winning, player two is winning, or if it's a draw. So it's like right now it's pretty much the basic stuff, but that's how you escalate from it. That's one example that I came across. So that's that.
Okay. Can you just go over that again? It was just the camera which would focus on the
Yeah,
hand.
like for example, it was just like your basic laptop camera, and you had to open it. It was like an app, and two players would be there with their hands in like properly positioned, and you play the game like rock paper and scissor. And there was a player one and a player two. So basically, it could display the message of like who's winning the round, if it's a draw, if player one has won the round, if player two has won the round. So it's pretty basic, but that's I think that's how you escalate, like that's how you go deeper into like more complicated models. But right now I think we're all at the beginner level, so that's what we've been doing.
It'll come. Yeah, all of this
Yeah.
comes because you begin to see it. Okay, great. So now, Shan, tell me, what would you like to do in your internships going forward?
I think something in the field of like some company which is actively in like implementing AI in most of the projects and stuff. Because obviously I need to learn from that internship. I need to know more advanced stuff to get a job in the industry. So something which is mostly AI oriented, like and works hard to research and develop new algorithms. I think I would be interested in that.
Is it more general right now, or would you like to? No, I'm asking you because I'm saying that you have AI is being applied right across the spectrum. So let's say you're interested in interning with a company that is into weather apps, and you want to figure out how the lack of, you know, any particular thing, whether it's storms coming in or something else, is going to impact some crops in the ground. So are you going to go for a specific? You're not thinking of a specific application right now.
Right.
No, are you or are you not? You're saying I will walk into a company and they will give me an assignment and I will work the internship from there? Or do you have any ideas that you think you can go to companies with who are already into that business and then say, hey, I'd like to check this out while I'm interning here?
Yeah, I think I'll have to like know what they're doing beforehand because if I would be interested in that only then I'll be able to work properly in that. So
Get
I think
into the internship. internship in the first place, right?
Yeah, get it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So Ananya, what about you? What would you like to intern in?
Yeah, I feel like to be very real, right now the AI sector, I don't think it's that vast in India. So I feel like I might settle for a computer science based internship as well. Like going deeper into it, like right now, it's data structures is a very important part of whatever we've been doing. So for now, if I get an internship opportunity, like just a DSA based internship is also a great opportunity for me, I feel like because the AI sector is growing slowly, but it's not that vast in India. So it's even harder to find an AI based internship right now. So I feel like I'll just go with the flow and look for opportunities.
Okay.
It's just that.
So finally, right, great. No, I think that's a perfectly valid. It's realistic, and it's saying that I need to adapt to whatever the environment is, where I am right now. Okay. So finally, Shan, where is it that you want to ultimately look at in AI? Is there a particular part of AI that fascinates you, that you are drawn to, even if you're not thinking of working there right now?
I think I was initially more inclined towards the finance sector, which the way how it implements AI. I think it's fascinating, like how it can just easily analyze the the stock market and all. So I think I was more interested in that initially, but I think I'll have to explore more industries to know how it works. So, but yeah, initially I was more inclined towards the finance sector.
Okay. Are you in any of your own AI projects? Have you tried something on your own?
No, but we're actually doing one right now, which we'll have to present, I think, on the first week of April. Because we
Okay.
didn't have a AI subject before. This is our first time actually studying AI in this semester. So yeah.
Okay. Great. Ananya, what about you? What are the things that, let's say, if you had to do a project, what do you focus on right now? Let's say you were allowed to do a project on which there were no constraints. This is like a wish list, it's not an actual project.
All right. I feel like there are a number of opportunities, but as you said, finance sector is like pretty fascinating because that's something that needs like more predictions. Like it's a dicey place to be, and you need more models to predict it. That's a pretty good option. I feel like even music apps have been coming up with new features as well, so that's something that you can work on as well. I feel like there are other possibilities as well. For example, like editing apps, they have been using AI as a lot as well. So I feel like for editing pictures, videos, and everything, I feel like that's also a sector that can be like that can involve AI to a greater extent. So maybe something along those lines. Like I feel like there are a lot of options if I really start
Great.
thinking about it.
Great. It's been wonderful having you both on the show. And thank you very much for coming on and speaking about what you are currently going through in AI and ML. Let me wish you the very best in the years ahead, and all the best. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
Thank you
coming
so
on.
Lovely to
much.
be here. Thank you. It was
Okay.
great talking to you.
Thank you, Ananya. Thank you, Shaan. Okay.